Hello, genealogists. This is Craig, and this is Just Genealogy. And I was talking with someone today about non-population schedules, specifically the delinquents. And then I realized, we sort of realized, well, it's not really called that. So went searching for them. And if you're not familiar with them, let's talk about census records in general. So everybody should be familiar with the federal population schedules, what's available and what's not available for the areas in which you research. And I always recommend that if you're going to do anything first, you do census research first because it helps you put the family together. It puts them in a place and time. And every 10 years, you know what it looks like. So I shouldn't have to talk about federal population schedules that go from 1790 to 1950. When I even went to look for my own parents in the 1950 census before the indexes came out, they weren't where I expected them. And when the indexes came out, I found them. And they were like 5 miles from where I expected them to be. And I said, "Dad, you live there?" He said, "Yeah." Like it was news. He never told me he lived there. I thought he lived in a place where I was all the time. But that's a different story. Anyway, I'm off track. So there also are non-population schedules. And these deal with manufacturing. They deal with agriculture. They deal with mortality. You may have heard of the mortality censuses every 10 years. They may be slave schedules, and we have slave schedules up through 1860 in a lot of places. There may be Native American schedules. There also may be state population schedules. And the one I want to talk about today, though, are the social statistics. Or let's just talk about the non-population schedules in general terms. So if you'd like to know what non-population schedules are available, you want to go to archives.gov/research/census/non-population without that dash in between the non and the population. And this will take you to a web page at archives.gov in the Research Our Records section called Non-Population Census Records. There's probably a way to get to it from the main Research Our Records page, but I just don't see it. But anyway, so going back here, so we can see the agricultural censuses. We can see the years that there were. And we at Heritage Books have published some of these for various states, many of them for 1850 and 1860 and some for 1870. Not all of them, of course. Some of them are on Ancestry. The manufacturing schedules for 1810, 1820, and then 1850 to 1880. Then the mortality schedules. And then business schedules. That's 1935. But you want to go down to the list down at the bottom, which is by state. So if I go to North Carolina, for example, and hit the little plus sign, there are on microfilm the records of the 1820 Census of Manufacturers and the non-population census schedules for North Carolina, 1850 to 1880, mortality and manufacturing. And one of those, the non-population census schedule for North Carolina, 1850 to 1880, is available on Ancestry. However, the one that I'm most interested in at the moment is the Defective, Dependent, and Delinquent Classes, 1880. And that's going to tell me information about who's in the poorhouse, who's blind, who's deaf, those kind of things. I also want to look at the social statistics. So this tells me that if I want to look at these, they are located in the state archives of North Carolina. And it doesn't appear that NARA is aware that they are available digitally anywhere. Let's go look at another state. Let's go look at Maryland. So the 1820 Census of Manufacturers is there. The non-population census schedules for the District of Columbia and Worcester County, Maryland 1850 agriculture are on M1793, and then M1799 has the non-population census schedules for Baltimore City and County, Maryland 1850 to 1860, which is interesting because I don't think Baltimore City actually became a city until 1859, but that's just me. And they have the agriculture, industry, and social statistics. The Maryland State Archives, though, has the non-population censuses, including that defective, dependent, and delinquent classes 1880. We have published the one for Florida. I don't know that any others have been published in the defective, dependent, and delinquent classes, but that would be an interesting project for anybody who wanted to pick it up. And then the social statistics are going to tell us what churches there are and what other kinds of things socially exist in the individual counties within the state for that time period. I don't know of any of the social statistics that are in fact digitally available anywhere. I used to have a crosswalk as to what was in the National Archives and what was in the state archives or what was where. But this is the closest thing that I'd be able to find to lead me to it. So there is this project available if you find that any of these are good to work on, if you find that they aren't on microfilm, not on Ancestry, and not on Family Search. So just providing another hint in regards to census records, I always expect you to do the federal population censuses on all of your ancestors between 1790 and 1950. But here you now know that there are others. And you want to look at the agriculture ones, especially if you're dealing with a farmer. I always like to look in southern states of the difference between the 1850 agriculture data for someone versus the 1860 versus the 1870 and see what the impact of the Civil War was on agriculture in the South. So this is Craig. This has been Just Genealogy, where I've been talking about basically non-population schedules and how to find them. Again, that's archives.gov/research/census/non-population. Thank you so much.